After thus instructing the king, Hari immediately disappeared. Then King Satyavrata began to wait for that time of which the Lord had instructed. After spreading Kush with its tips pointing east, the saintly king, himself facing the northeast, sat down on the grass and began to meditate upon Hare Vishnu, who had assumed the form of a fish. Thereafter gigantic clouds pouring incessant water swelled the ocean more and more. Thus the ocean began to overflow onto the land and inundate the entire world. As Satyavrata remembered the order of Bhagavat, he saw a boat coming near him. Thus he collected herbs and creepers, and accompanied by saintly Brahmanas, he got aboard the boat. The saintly Brahmanas, being pleased with the king, said to him, "O king, please meditate upon Keshava. He will save us from this impending danger and arrange for our well-being." Then, while the king constantly meditated upon the Lord, a large golden fish appeared in the ocean of inundation. The fish had one horn and was 8 million miles long. Following the instructions formerly given by Haryana, the king anchored the boat to the fish's horn, using the serpent Vasuki as a rope. Thus being satisfied, he began offering prayers to the Lord. The king said, "By the grace of the Lord, those who have lost their self-knowledge since time immemorial, and who because of this ignorance are involved in a material, conditional life full of miseries, obtain the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. I accept Yam as the supreme spiritual master. In hopes of becoming happy in this material world, the foolish conditioned soul performs fruitive activities that result only in suffering. But by rendering service to the Lord, one becomes free from such false desires for happiness. May my supreme spiritual master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart. One who wants to be free of material entanglement should take to the service of Yat and give up the contamination of ignorance involving pious and impious activities. Thus one regains his original identity, just as a block of gold or silver sheds all dirt and becomes purified when treated with fire. May that inexhaustible become our spiritual master, for he is the original spiritual master of all other spiritual masters. Neither all the devas, nor the so-called gurus, nor all other people, either independently or together, can offer mercy that equals even 1/10,000th of yours. Therefore I wish to take shelter of your lotus feet. As a blind man, being unable to see, accepts another blind man as his leader, people who do not know the goal of life accept someone as a guru who is a rascal and a fool. But we are interested in self-realization. Therefore we accept you, the Lordship, as our spiritual master, for you are able to see in all directions and are omniscient like the sun. The materialistic so-called guru instructs his materialistic disciples about economic development and sense gratification, and because of such instructions the foolish disciples continue in the materialistic existence of ignorance. But your Lordship gives knowledge that is eternal, and the intelligent person receiving such knowledge is quickly situated in his original constitutional position. My Lord, you are the supreme well-wishing friend of everyone, the dearmost friend, the controller, the supersoul, the supreme instructor, and the giver of supreme knowledge, and the fulfillment of all desires. But although you are within the heart, the foolish, because of lusty desires in the heart, cannot understand you. O Supreme Lord, for self-realization I surrender unto you, who are worshipped by the us as the supreme controller of everything. By your instructions, exposing life's purpose, kindly cut the knot from the core of my heart and let me know the destination of my life. Shukadeva Goswami continued. When Satyavrata had thus prayed to Bhagavan, who had assumed the form of a fish, the Lord, while moving in the water of inundation, explained to him the absolute truth. The Lord thus explained to Satyavrata the spiritual science known as Sankhya Yoga, the science by which one distinguishes between matter and spirit, in other words Bhakti Yoga, along with instructions contained in the Puranas and the Samhitas. The Lord explained himself in all these literatures. While sitting in the boat, King Satyavrata, accompanied by the great saintly persons, listened to the instructions of the Bhagavata in regard to self-realization. These instructions were all from the eternal Vedic literature, Brahma. Thus, the king and sages had no doubt about the absolute truth. At the end of the last inundation, Lord killed the demon Hayagriva and delivered all the Vedic literatures to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma awakened from sleeping. King Satyavrata was illuminated with all Vedic knowledge by the mercy of Lord Vishnu, and in this period he has now taken birth as Vaivasvata Manu, the son of the sun god. This story concerning the great King Satyavrata and the fish incarnation of the Aingana Vishnu is a great transcendental narration. Anyone who hears it is delivered from the reactions of sinful life. One who narrates this description of the Matsya incarnation and King Satyavrata will certainly have all his ambitions fulfilled, and he will undoubtedly return home back to Godhead. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who pretended to be a gigantic fish, who restored the Vedic literatures to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma awakened from sleep, and who explained the essence of Vedic literature to King Satyavrata and the great saintly persons. Compared with deluge tradition from around the world, while I show slides of Bharat, Persian, and European depictions over half a millennia, Matsya is the oldest, bridging the end of the 14th Manu, therefore restarting the cycle of the first Swayambhuva Manu, as well as bridging the end of the 6th Manu, therefore restarting the reincarnation of Manu 1 into current Manu 7. This was because first Manu was cursed by Agastya, one of the 7 Sapta Rishis, for being prideful about creating 400,000 different types of humans in the universes. He thought he was greater than the Rishis, who created 8 million different life forms in the universes. For those knowledgeable in Puranic mathematics, this means the span of 2 billion years ago, as well as our current 119 million years. For tribes who have lost track of their maths, like the Christian Bishop of Ulster, James Ussher, constrains his religion to just 6,027 years ago, for even the beginning of the world, in which an earth is flooded, but in our origin, our whole universe is flooded. Although there are many different calculations of a yojana, describing seemingly impossible distances, whichever way we take it, we can figuratively give 1 yojana as 8 miles, and believe as it is, that Matsya grew to 8 million miles from being a fish in the palms of the king, who transposed Matsya from a well when 3 cubits long. The 7 days until flooded annihilation is the same in the Old Testament, though the king was given a boat by Krishna, rather than the biblical need to make one himself. The major difference is that no animals are mentioned except souls on standby with all grains, in order to recommence life. For that is a cyclical rule of fire yajna, to create Indra-directed rain to help bring down the Atmas and grow the grain to eat them, which in turn only allow life to commence. Subscribing gifts you more, and why not scribe a question or comment?